Okay, 12th of September, 2025. I think it's always good to just remind ourselves why we're here, what we're doing here. So developing that motivation to have a sense of ease and well-being. And then also something I've been reflecting on lately is that what actually brings the mind to a state of peace, or what actually causes the meditation to make progress. And actually, it's really through practice long-term. And the sila, without sila, if it's Buddhist meditation or it's Buddhist practice, then we talk about sila, we talk about virtue. And without the virtue, there's no foundation, it's not going to happen. So we might look around a long time for the right technique or the right practice for us. But without virtue, we could try all the techniques in the world and they aren't going to work. Or they might just do something for us temporarily, make the body feel good, for example, but the mind isn't going to be clear. The mind isn't going to be pure. It's not going to be purified by the technique. It's purified starting through sila, starting with virtue. So to always work on that foundation, be mindful of that foundation. And there's really no progress in practice without virtue, without sila. So the Noble Eightfold Path, we talk about the Noble Eightfold Path. And in the Noble Eightfold Path, there's the right action, right thought, right action, right speech. It's good to note that right thought is defined in the chant as thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of non-harming, thoughts of non-ill will. Non-harming is compassion, non-ill will is loving kindness. So, and renunciation is called nekama. Nekama sampanno is renunciation. That's the not being driven by sensuality as the main focus. So thoughts of renunciation are just thoughts of seeing the drawbacks of those things. And renunciation is kind of not a great word either, because it has maybe a connotation or a feeling tone of unpleasantness, that we have to actually repress something or undergo some sort of sense of lack. But from time to time, I like to tell the story that Ajahn would like to tell of the blissful mother in India. I think she lived in the 1920s and 30s. She was in her teaching heyday at that time, and she was known for her renunciation, known for non-attachment to material possessions, to anything in the material world, actually. And she would receive people and answer questions about spiritual practice. And there was a time when 3 businessmen who were fairly well off, fairly wealthy, wanted to talk to her, and one of them said, "We're very impressed. We can't believe how much renunciation you have. How you've given up absolutely everything. You've given up having a spouse, you've given up all sorts of material possessions, you just take what's given. You've given up all sorts of preferences and everything, and how do you do it? How do you give up everything?" And she started laughing. She started laughing at them. And she laughed for so long that they started getting very uncomfortable. And she was like crying from laughing so much. And they started getting quite uncomfortable. And then she finally gathered herself and she says, "I'm laughing because you think I've given up everything. You're the one who's given up everything." So she didn't see renunciation as a sense of lack. It's that she has everything, that the people who have attachment have given up everything, i.e. given up what's innate in the mind. And with what we call renunciation or nekama, then we uncover what's already there and we have everything. We already have everything. We aren't lacking for anything. So renunciation is a sense of absolutely no lack. There's nothing lacking. Everything is here. Everything we need or could ever want in terms of well-being and happiness, it's already here, but we have to uncover it. There's also that just reminded me of a similar vignette of 2008 Metta retreat with Luang Por Basano in terms of the laughing part, not necessarily the meaning of renunciation, but there was a Q&A session, and I remember listening to this. It was kind of one of the best answers, one of the best Luang Por Basano answers, I think, in history. And somebody asked him, because people kind of see the monks sometimes, and okay, lot of the monks seemed to be doing well and, even kind of enjoying themselves in the monastery. And so somebody asked, what's the funnest part about being a monk? And so Monk Borpasano, he started laughing. And he was laughing so hard, he was almost crying from laughing. And then he kind of gathered himself, and I think the questioner started feeling a bit uncomfortable. And then he said, it's not fun. I thought the way that was answered and the answer itself was like the perfect answer. He laughed for a long time and then said, it's not fun. So I think leave that for reflection this morning.